Back in the 1970s and 1980s, you wouldn't be wrong in making the generalization that typical theatrical animated films are usually from Disney. Films like Robin Hood or The Rescuers or reissues like Bambi and Fantasia and films like that. Back then, theatrical released animated films weren't as common as they are nowadays, and we usually don't bat an eye when we see a new animated film in theaters. But back then, it was really not that much to choose from beyond what Disney had to offer, and it wasn't until probably until the early '80s when we actually started seeing more theatrical released animated films that are not of the Disney ilk and or have more mature themes, not necessarily adult, but more mature themes and more suitable for an older audience. And around this time, Ralph Bakshi came to fame when he made a film called Fritz the Cat in the early 70s. And Bakshi has a very particular style. If you ever see a Bakshi film, you just, once you see it, you're like, oh, that's a Ralph Bakshi film. Beyond Fritz the Cat, he also gave us American Pop. What else is there? Fire and Ice, and other a few other, and notably The Lord of the Rings, the first adaptation, theatrical released adaptation of the J.R.R. Tolkien series. Bakshi films are most notable because he utilizes rotoscoping a lot. Basically, rotoscoping is that they film with actors, actual actors. They film the scenes, and then those scenes are then given to the animators, who basically trace the actors and then animate them. Not necessarily giving like the same exact details of the person performing the part, but then they create the characters from there. And one example is Fire and Ice. Fire and Ice came out in 1983, and it's something I have not seen in a long time, a very long time. And it's a fantasy adventure that's very much in the Bakshi style, and features work from famed illustrator Frank Frazetta, who helped create some of the characters and costume designs in this film. And those designs are very much Frazetta when you look at them. And Fire and Ice is like, while not a perfect film, it's actually a pretty good fantasy adventure. It's the kind of one that you don't want to sit there like asking like the most common questions, like how are these like scantily clad people running around in blizzard conditions and not reacting to the cold in any manner whatsoever. Simple things like that. But basically, the movie is Fire and Ice, where it's literally good versus evil, and it's about a evil prince who wants to take over the planet or world or realm, whatever, what have you, and he is he has the ability to control ice, and he's creating this ice wall that is like moving its way across the countryside. Opposing him is the Land of Fire and Firekeep, where the king there is a benevolent king, fair king, and he opposes the evil Ice King Necron, and these two are at odds. And basically, that's what the gist of the adventure is Necron doing what he can to take down the king of at Firekeep, and all the citizens that get involved in this whole thing. There's damsels in distress, monsters, dragons, Cro-Magnon like humanoids. Again, I don't know if this takes place on Earth in the past. It never really specifies, but it's a fun fantasy adventure that's totally pure Bakshi and character straight out of Rosetta, and like the lead heroine Tigra, the princess, is like just basically just running around in a thong, and there are moments where Bakshi basically just lets the camera linger on certain angles that I think it is like, oh, there's borderlines of soft core, and it's almost reminiscent of stuff like Ritz the Cat or Heavy Traffic and Coonskin and stuff like that. And it's kind of funny to think that this movie was marketed. I'm guessing back then this was marketed towards kids. I believe it was rated PG back then. But yeah, the Fire and Ice is like it moves along real nicely. It's a fun fantasy adventure. There's like some interesting characters, and it's the kind of movie that you don't want to like go in and just overanalyze. Just enjoy the story, and the animation. The animation is great, typical great Bakshi. I mean, granted, there's like people have all brought up issues like, how come none of these characters cast shadows? Well, I don't think they were really concerned about that. I mean, just look at like your average Looney Tunes. Did those guys ever cast shadows? No. But were you entertained? Yes. So Fire and Ice is something I decided to revisit after just randomly jumping around Amazon and Netflix, and I'm glad I did because this actually was like a really entertaining, fun adventure fantasy film, sci-fi fantasy film, and I'm willing to bet back in the '80s it probably didn't go over too well since it was probably just too out there for audiences to really connect with. And it probably might have gotten swallowed in '83. Probably, I'm guessing it probably butted heads against Return of the Jedi and Krull and films like that. So Ralph Bakshi's Fire and Ice, I would give 3.5 stars out of 5. It's as a fan of animation, I thought the animation was great. It's great in the traditional Bakshi style, and the fantasy adventure aspect was it was entertaining, and it moved along, and I really liked the adventure, and I'm guessing because it didn't do well, they never talked about sequels, and I've heard rumors of a live-action adaptation, but who knows? But Fire and Ice is definitely worth checking out if you have the opportunity. 3.5 stars out of 5. So, if you like this review, please hit that like button below. Have you seen Fire and Ice? What did you think of it? Have you seen other Bakshi films? What's your favorite Bakshi film? Please comment below and let me know. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do, so you can stay on top of my new reviews, retro reviews, and any other fun things I happen to put up on my channel. And be sure to hit that bell button so that you'll be notified when I do so. So until next time, my friends, we'll see you at the movies.